Hi everyone, this is Nasscom Conversations with Girish Raghavan. Today we have with us Girish. Hi and welcome.
Hi, Praveen. Nice to connect with you. And good morning.
All right. So Girish, essentially the idea is to understand, where India stands when it comes to diagnostics and the supported issues that we have with respect to the burden on non-communicable diseases, especially cancer and healthcare or heart disease rather. And this is primarily compounded by the shortage of specialists. And in major cities, we don't have that problem, but especially in smaller cities, these issues exist. Now, there are obviously a lot of these advances in multimodal and foundational AI models that offer a lot of this promise of not just affordable, but scalable diagnostics that can help improve these outcomes and essentially reduce this clinical overload that is there across the country. Now, how do you think these AI models are transforming diagnostics, especially in critical situations in India, and specifically how this also could possibly function as an opportunity for India to become a global leader in the space?
Okay. So I think it's a really good question, Praveen. So if you look at today in India, NCDs has been a major concern for the government. Cancer, diabetes, and so on and so forth have been huge contributors today. And around 60% of the deaths in India are also because of NCDs. So there's been a big concern for the government of India, the policymakers, and so on and so forth. So if you look at today where we are, and if you look at the problem, what we're facing today is on two folds. One is we don't have the best-in-class clinical capabilities in tier 3, tier 4 cities, and most of those folks would want to come to a tier 2 or a tier 1 city, right, to get the best-in-class medicine and consultation. That is one challenge. And second, as you rightly pointed out, there is a huge overload and burden today in tier 1 cities. We're not able to expand based on the capacity what we're seeing in these places. So this is precisely where AI plays a big role, and GE Healthcare has been one of the pioneers in this space in where we are trying to use AI and digital solutions to solve the problem. So the multiple fronts we're trying to solve the problem. Number one is we are trying to use obviously the AI and foundation models to improve the clinical efficacy, right? So today, if you look at the volumes of imaging we do, there is humongous, and it is not humanly possible for a limited set of people to go through all the images what we have and make accurate diagnosis. So we're using AI there primarily to sparse those images and come with recommendations or assist the clinicians in terms of the clinical decision making process. So that's why AI is playing a huge role today. And essentially, what we're trying to do here, Praveen, is we are trying to democratize healthcare to a large extent. What used to be the niche skill with a handful of clinicians today, thanks to AI, has been democratized, where even folks in tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 cities with these solutions can provide a level of clinical efficacy, which used to be provided many years back only with a handful of clinicians. That is one. The second thing we are doing is also trying to solve the burden problem, what we are referring to. With the availability of AI solutions like what we're referring to, it is also able to go back and reduce the burden of few clinicians who have the highest level of competence. So I would say huge difference we are trying to make with AI today.
All right. Thanks, Girish. And of course, when you are expanding into tier 2 and tier 3, or maybe even tier 4 cities of India, the idea is, from a point of view of scalability or of these solutions. And as you tend to scale, you become less inclusive in nature. And given the fact that India is truly diverse, definitely a lot of infrastructural issues or challenges that exist, there are diverse languages and dialects that exist. Connectivity could be suspect, and there could be certain limitations in terms of how workforce could possibly utilize some of these solutions across these smaller towns and cities of India, and not just in the metros of the country. So, from your perspective, what sort of design principles or approaches are critical in ensuring that there's not just scalability, but more importantly, inclusivity?
So I think you brought a very good point, Praveen, about connectivity, bandwidth, network. See, we are not definitely we are much better off than where we were in the past with 4G and then 5G. We have got 6G coming out of us with all the multi generations of the technology evolutions in telecom. We're going to see that bandwidth is going to become a huge enabler for us to take precision medicine to the last mile. So that is something which we are going to see as a huge enabler. But from a challenge perspective, I would say one big challenge is how AI is getting used. AI is still, I would say, in its very initial stage of evolution, especially in the space of healthcare. So it is very important. I mean, we often hear about a lot of AI solutions, so on and so forth, but AI solution data plays a very important role. How do we ensure that we have diversity of data? That is where the whole focus of responsible AI comes a big way. It's also to ensure that we are having diverse data. It is inclusive. It makes sure it covers a huge population. It covers multiple slices of the demographics we have today in the country. All those are extremely important. Large company like GE Healthcare, we have put a very good process and system in place just to ensure that the AI solutions what we build are of the right level. And we have a lot of systems and processes in place in terms of how do we even have diversity of data, what kind of diversity do you need, and fortunately for us in some of the Western countries, even the regulators are starting to put together structures in place today. So it actually makes this all the more important for us as we build AI solutions to make sure that we are responsible, we're ethical in nature, we take care of diverse population, we meet the regulatory standards which are set in many Western countries, which all this makes us in a very strong positions to be to able to take the solutions to the last mile in the country.
Great to hear that, Girish. And as you're trying to scale some of these solutions, build these solutions for India with the kind of diversity of data and some of those ethical practices you're building in, what also can potentially happen in India, and again, Indian technology landscape is highly fragmented, and there's a lack of connectedness, if I were to call it that, wherein we need to have. Again, conventional logic suggests that we need to have integrated ecosystems of sorts, right? Where we're trying to have unified imaging data, patient data, and workflows from a clinical point of view. Because ultimately all of that will have to, and there's an immense intelligence that is captured if you were able to integrate all of that together. And I want to bring this up since you talked of data, and how are you sort of looking at utilizing all of this information, but more importantly, shift from these traditional standalone tool building to more connected platforms, and obviously the benefits which you are seeing as a result of that.
Yeah. So if you look at GE Healthcare, right, in India, we have the largest R&D center for GE Healthcare right out of Bangalore here. And this is actually the hub of AI development, cybersecurity, data science. We have the largest pool of AI and data scientists sitting in this campus. This puts us at a big advantage. I also want to highlight that we have an amazing ecosystem around us in the country, and which we leverage quite a lot. So coming to a specific question here, Praveen, that as you look at precision medicine, as you get into the space of precision medicine, predictive medicine, it becomes all the more important where AI can actually take information from multiple diverse environment and try to correlate them and provide recommendations which are going to have good consequences, right? For example, you would want to have, if you go to a hospital today and you meet a doctor, you have a hard copy of file, and he has, if you take a cardiologist, you got ECGs, you got echocardiography, you got your last angio report, you have the prescription given from the last visit, etc. And a typical cardiologist, a highly expert cardiologist, spends maybe a couple of minutes just scanning through the file and making his impressions in his mind. So as we go forward, we will have the solutions of similar solutions which are being built by AI today, where the AI will be able to just feed into the imaging database, look into lab reports, look into your last prescription, connect to the EMR data, right? And it'll try to consolidate the information, drive AI analysis, and provide recommendation in a much more I would say, much more coordinated manner. So that is something which you're going to see more and more happening today, and we do it today in our R&D center in India. We're trying to build solutions which are able to just connect with multiple databases. And one more thing, as you will see going forward, is also the prevalence of the prominence of, I would say, genomics as an example, right? So that's more about the future. So how do we connect all these things together? That is going to be the power of precision medicine as we move forward. So today in our R&D center, we do that. We have connectivity with multiple EMR systems. We try to build solutions specifically to a particular care pathway. If you look at today in GE Healthcare, we focus on what we call D3 strategy. It's about about disease state. No, disease state is one important element of the D3 strategy, where we look at solutions in oncology, in cardiology, and neurology. So we look at across the multiple care pathway of oncology, how are we able to take information from multiple data systems and provide recommendations to the clinician as we go forward. So that is how the medicine is going to evolve in the days ahead.
Sounds very promising, and I hope we will all see an India wherein these connected systems will not just aid in delivering precision medicine, but also help forecast, any such potential issues coming forward with the role of genomics that will come into play. Now, I just also want to go back to what you earlier mentioned, especially when it comes to responsible and safe AI adoption, and some parts of it you already mentioned, but specifically, there has been the ABDM initiative by the Indian government, and then of course the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which has also come into place. Now, these are frameworks which are critical. We don't have an AI Act, but then again, overall, there is obviously a lot of self-regulation that is embedded in the practices that organizations like yours are following. Now, as with AI becoming more and more embedded in clinical decisions, it becomes even more important to balance this innovation and do this in a much more responsible manner. Now, while you can respond from your organization's lens, but then from a India standpoint, how do you think as a country we can foster better adoption of these responsible AI tenets in the medtech space while ensuring that there is enough patient trust and data security as well?
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, large companies, like us, have a very strong framework in place. For us, privacy is our cornerstone of how we do technology development. There is no second thoughts around that. The kind of frameworks we have inside is just sometimes feel it is a bit overarching, I would say, but it for good reasons, because you have to have checks and balances to make sure we are not breaking into privacy and security and so on and so forth. So at least in our company, for example, we have any data which comes out of a hospital. At that endpoint, we make sure that the data is cleansed properly, the pH informations are taken off, and what comes out are real data which meets the compliance needs of the country where we are in, whichever country we are in today. So those things are in place today. But if you look at on a broadly speaking, at an industry level, are we there? Answer is no. People are learning, all are evolving. This is a very much new space. People are learning in this space. It'll take a while for everybody to get to the same mindset as what some of the pioneers in this space are today. But very interestingly, Praveen, what is also helping us in this whole journey is also the hospitals. The kind of the consciousness hospitals have on privacy is just amazing, right? So I've seen many hospitals I have worked with closely, having very strong mandates, their own policies and processes in place to protect privacy. And so just data doesn't leave the premises without following the compliance rules of the hospital. So large hospitals, they do have this in place. The other thing is also, if you look at primarily from the data perspective, right? The other challenge we will face as we go forward is these models are all built with today's understanding in mind. So what the model which is building a AI model is not a one-time event. It is a journey. So what model you build today may not be relevant 5 years from now, 8 years from now. It's all the more important that the data what we get from these hospitals, they're all cleansed and they have devoid of all privacy information. We should also constantly look at going back and trying to get the data and revising the model, because demographics change, obesity is increasing, right? What works today may not work 5 years from now. So there's a constant loop back mechanism what we need to make sure that the drifts which we see are addressed. So as years pass by, there'll be data drifts happening, and you have to keep on correcting the drifts so that the models are relevant with time. Otherwise, it will also lead to some issues. All this comes in the framework of responsible AI, taking care of drift, taking care of privacy, taking care of cyber security. There's a bunch of things which comes in the framework of responsible AI. So all these are all the more important, I would say.
Yeah, very reassuring to hear that. And of course, as a responsible organization, glad to hear some of these frameworks in place. And more importantly, while, like you rightly said, they might seem stifling, but I think it's essential given the fact that, there's so much at stake when it comes to privacy and trust that we want to sort of build into how these AI-based solutions are sort of providing value. Now, Girish, I think it's very clear that there have been a lot of tailwinds when it comes to India, the digital talent or the fact that there is a high degree of maturity in the engineering culture that we have as a country, as a nation, and of course the R&D capabilities are also rapidly growing. And perhaps to round off this conversation, I was very keen to understand, from a country's role when it comes to medtech or health tech innovation, where India can, traditionally being seen as a cost-effective execution center or a region, but then how can we sort of see ourselves as a nation to become a leader in designing the next generation healthcare technologies? And while that is there, and of course, not just from moving from, let's say, delivery of healthcare to discovery, which is really how, with the advent of AI and digital, everything that is there in terms of medical intelligence, imaging intelligence, the platforms that are there, and predictive care. So, what is the foresight that you have for India?
So one thing for sure, Praveen, is that see, GE started in India 30 years back, GE Healthcare, right? That time it was just a question of cost arbitrage. Okay, but I would say it is no more the case. Of course, we are much more cost effective as a country. But but where we stand today, I can tell you that today we are no more known for cost. We are known for innovation. Okay, I think there are four things which works in our favor. One, we have a very deep pool of engineering expertise in the country, right? Computer science is very deep in the country today, so that is a big advantage what we have. Second is data, right? It is much more easier to get data here in a compliant manner than in most other. When I say data, it's not about getting data from some hospital; it's about the volume of data. Okay, if you go to most hospitals in the country, they do maybe 2 to 3x of what you would see in a Western country. So the data, the among us amount of data we have is a big advantage what we have. The third we have is what I mentioned about innovation, right? So we are no more known as a low-cost country. It's not about execution. It's also about building an innovation mindset where we are taking solutions. For example, just in my organization, we have so far built around 130 plus products and solutions out of the center for the world and for India, right? So that speaks volume in terms of the innovation mindset what we have. And lastly, very importantly, we have an amazing ecosystem in the country, Praveen. So our connects with academic institutions like IITs and IIMs and so on and so forth, IISCs and so on and so forth have been very strong. So that actually feeds into our larger ecosystem very well. The second element of the ecosystem is also the academic, is also the hospitals we have. The hospital ecosystems are very strong. We have partnership with so many hospitals in the country, and that we got clinicians from those hospitals coming and working with us, helping us to co-create solutions, etc. I think these 4 points together, be it talent, data, the strong ecosystem what we have, and the frugal innovation mindset which we have developed, is definitely going to help us to go forward in a long way. I still know that many companies today from the globe are setting up GCCs in India, similar to what GE did 30 years back in this country. It's a journey. Many companies evolve when they do it, but they're all coming here just because they all see the transformation which this country can provide. You start as a GCC, and over a period of 10 to 15 to 20 years, you mature into organizations which can really be at the center of at the epicenter of the organization's innovation culture. So I think the future looks immensely bright for the talent in this country.
All right, fantastic. Girish, thank you on that promising note. I'd like to appreciate you taking out time and sharing your insights. This was another episode of Nasscom Conversations. Thank you for joining us today.